following podcast contains spoilers for the conversation. You have been warned.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Magusto.
They're in the walls.
They're everywhere.
They're listening to us.
Damn them.
Oh, wait, that's the point of a podcast, is for people to listen to us.
Absolutely.
That was a close one. How you doing, Glenn?
Well, not good anymore. My headphones just unplugged themselves somehow.
Oh, no. Does it work if you plug it back in?
Hold on a second.
Can you hear me?
I think my headphone jack is a little, loose, if that makes sense. So
A little loosey-goosey?
the stick doesn't exactly fit the hole.
I have that problem.
Anyway, how are you, Mike?
I'm good. How are you?
Very troubleshooting failures over here, but
yes.
other than that, I'm peachy keen.
That's great. Speaking of Peachy Keen, this has nothing to do with it. How many movies did you watch in the past week?
What was the last movies we actually said out loud to each other?
Well, we recorded on the 2nd of May. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if you have the diary up on your Letterboxd.
I do. So I have The Northman, which we both did reviews for.
We talked about that, yep.
Other than that, I did nothing but watch Doctor Strange, which, of course, we have a review for.
Yes, a lovely review.
And then I decided to make... Now, this has nothing to do with what I watched, but I get a lot of questions of what I would recommend to people. Mm-hmm. So on Letterboxd, I made a nice little... I guess this is a plug, early plug. Welcome. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Nice little list of my lifetime must-watches, because I get annoyed of every day somebody asking me what I should or what they should watch. Like, please just look at this and just go for it. Go nuts. So I made that little list, and I kind of want to go back and start watching some, to be honest.
Yeah, I have a similar list. It's not exactly for that reason. I have all of my 5-star rated movies on a list. There's about 100-something, 150, I think, if not more. And I could probably add more. There's some 4.5, 4-star ratings that are really good. But I might do the same thing.
I curated mine to be, even if it's not exactly a 5 and obviously 4s, even 3.5s or 3s, whatever the fuck. There's movies out there that could just straight up be, you should watch them. Fucking for some reason I would add the Power Rangers movies from the 90s.
I mean those are just fun, especially for people our age.
That's a random honky tonk badonky donk, and that's hearsay at this point.
What are you, Johnny Depp? Amber Heard's lawyers?
Aquaman. That's been in existence of my life for way too long now, and I want it to be over.
I am looking at this list and I'm loving it so far. So
it's still in progress. I kind of sat down one night for an hour and just added a bunch of shit, but there's still a bunch of stuff that needs to be added.
Yeah.
But I just got tired of constantly being asked, and I was like, please, here, click, copy, paste.
Yeah, that's awesome. I might do the same thing.
So yeah, I watched one movie.
Hey, you know what? You're only shooting yourself in the foot for when we have to do the Stonies. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's all on you. I'm caught up. I don't stress around the Stonies because I don't have much to watch. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
you're always the golden goose.
I am the golden goose. But I have watched 6 movies and a TV show. A TV show that I started before this week, but then finished this week. The first one was for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die series that I'm doing, called The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman. That is going to be in June's episode, so you can check out my thoughts on that when that episode rolls along. Then I saw, guess what? Everything Everywhere All at Once for the 5th time in theaters. Still loved it. Still ugly cried. I have never had a movie make me cry as much as this movie does, and I don't understand.
It's just so fucking good.
You know what it is? Okay, this is a slight spoiler, so skip ahead like 30 seconds if you haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. But the thing that gets me every time is when Joy starts to like get in the fight stance to fight her mom. And then and then Evelyn, the mom, does all these moves and then just opens her arms for a hug. That gets me every fucking time. And I don't like it, but I also love it. But
welcome to being a parent.
That part, I was just like, oh. Anyway, see Everything Everywhere All at Once. James Wong.
James Hong.
James Wong? No.
James Hong.
God damn, what's the grandfather's actor's name? James Wong?
Fuck, I did rewatch Blade Runner. For
and
most
he's in
of the
Blade
movie.
Runner, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, James Wong.
James Hong.
Okay, James Wong
James Hong.
just got his name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame after a 70 career spanning over 700 movies, TV shows.
Dude, he's had a huge career.
He is, and I was Daniel Kwan, one of the directors of Everything Everywhere All at Once, said that when he was James was telling him stories about how when he first started, people would just refer to him as the Chinaman, and the fact that he pushed through that to have such a storied career is incredible. James Wong, national treasure. Love him to death.
He is.
I hope he keeps kicking.
The best of the best.
Yes, he is. Anyway, Everything Everywhere All at Once. How many times do I have to tell you jabronis to go see it?
Just go.
Just go see it. Then we watched Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We have a review for that on our YouTube page. You can check that out. Then for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, I watched The Cranes Are Flying, which is a Soviet Union film from 1957. Surprisingly not full of propaganda. It's a romance that takes place during World War II. And instead of being like, oh, World War II was so great, they're like, yeah, World War II kind of sucked for us. Which is saying something, because so many war movies from back then, even American war films, are just like, war is great, blah blah blah. It's like, fuck you. No, it's not. But yeah, very very well made films, got incredible cinematography. Anyway, I might not like it though, so check out the review of it in June when that comes around on the Cinema Bucket List episode. Then I rewatched Coco with my boy. My baby boy,
special boy.
Yeah, and my wife. He liked it a lot. He paid attention way more than I thought he would. I mean, it does have bright colors and music, so
never forget when I fell asleep during that movie.
I know. Have you ever rewatched it?
I like 3 times at least.
It's a great movie.
It is so good.
Yeah. So yeah, Coco. Then I watched The Conversation. We're gonna get to that in a minute. And then I just finished today the Moon Knight series on Disney Plus, Marvel series with Oscar Isaac, and it's like an Egyptian-based superhero with Egyptian gods and shit. All I'm gonna say, way more emotional than I thought it was gonna be. Way more emotional than literally every single Marvel movie combined. Yes, the build-up to Iron Man dying was, I guess, sad, but you know, it took too long to get there. It took too long to get there, so it wasn't, for me personally, it was not sad by the time that it happened. And with Moon Knight, there's a lot of pain and anguish in it that was not expected from a Disney Plus series, personally. So yeah, people should check out Moon Knight. I really enjoyed it. And, you know, I rarely say I really enjoyed a Marvel movie. Usually it's just like, it's okay.
It's pretty damn rare.
Yeah. But that is all for me.
Did you talk about Ozark? Or did you not finish that yet?
I did finish it. It's just not on Letterboxd because it's a long-running series. Moon Knight will honestly probably be taken off of there. But I did watch Ozark as well as the behind-the-scenes thing for a farewell to Ozark. Ozark finished after 4 seasons. The 4th season was split up into 2 parts. I hate it when they do that. Like,
oh my god, I literally would have watched it if it all came out at once.
Yeah,
and here I am sitting here not watching the second half. Like an ass.
we flipperoonied, as we say in the Hicks household. Whenever my son flipperoonies in his crib, We call it a flipperoonie. But you watched the first half of the 4th season like
In the
3-4 weeks before I did.
No, the first day it came out.
Yeah, and that was like 3 or 4 weeks before I watched it.
And then here we are, flipperooning.
And guess what? I watched it the first day it came out.
Times are wild.
Spread out because I can't binge watch shows
Yeah.
anymore with my baby boy. But Ozark finished. Cannot say the more I see from Jason Bateman, the more I love him. Laura Linney is incredible. She directs a few episodes.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know if she directed prior episodes, but in this new half of season 4,
Well,
she directs a few.
bud, it just might be that she might have done a few.
Whoa,
Like,
do we
I
have
can't-
Jason Bateman in here?
Let's settle back now. Let's take it on back. Yes.
But I'm not going to say why, but I was reminded of the episode where he's like thrown in a pit in the drug cartel's house, and they
in the
play
trailers,
metal.
not spoiler.
Yeah, it's in the trailer. It's not spoiler, and they play metal music to try to torture him, as many people do. If I were in that situation, I would just be rocking out. I'd be like, yeah. Oh. I'd be two-stepping.
100%. You'd be jamming.
I'd be two-stepping around that cell, just like, yeah, motherfucker, turn it up.
100%.
So but I also have to pretend like I don't like it, so they don't change the music. Be like, oh no, this sucks.
This is terrible.
Blood, steaming, fuck.
But yeah, great series. I'm not going to really say anything about the ending because I know a lot of people haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to give any false expectations or anything.
You're a good man.
But the series overall is really good, and that is all I will say. But that is it. So I guess we should get into our conversation about the conversation.
This is a world of hidden mics and two-way mirrors. A world where nothing is private.
Do you think we can do this?
Later in the week.
Do you think we can do this?
Harry Cole is an expert. The best there is.
Let me tell you something about Harry Cole. The best, bar none. I'll drink to that.
Best what?
The best bugger on the West Coast.
The Conversation. A paranoid, secretive surveillance expert has a crisis of conscience when he suspects that the couple he is spying on will be murdered. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola and written by stars Gene Hackman, John Cazale, Alan Garfield, Harrison Ford's in there, Cindy Williams, Michael Higgins. There's a lot of people, a lot of conversations, a lot of words, a lot of speaking going on.
I thought you were going to say Michael Hicks for a second. I was like, I'm not in it.
And Michael David
Yeah.
Charles Hicks.
Robert Duvall's in it.
Was that him?
That was Robert Duvall, yeah.
That, I saw the back of his head and I'm like, that back of the head looks super familiar.
I know that male pattern baldness anywhere.
That's some Godfather type like shit.
But yeah, this you picked this one. Do you want to go into a little bit of why you picked it?
Yeah. So last week we were talking about Johnny Depp, obviously, and then for some reason, I haven't watched a Johnny Depp movie in a while, and then for some reason it also stemmed to the point where I'm curious as to what movies of an actor I haven't seen in a while. And of course, Gene Hackman, the man, the myth, the legend, has been retired for a very long time. And I was like, God damn, Mike hasn't seen one of his movies, and neither have I. This
I haven't
works
seen
out
a lot of his
perfectly.
movies. Yeah.
And Gene's he's an amazing actor. And I was like, God, well, we're going to do it because I do my best not to pick things at least one of us has seen because it broadens our horizons a little bit. So this is why I picked this one.
Yeah.
Still, don't know how I feel about it.
Okay.
So that's going to be a little heads up to you.
All right. So first off, Francis Ford Coppola, as we all know, directed the Godfather trilogy. He directed Apocalypse Now. He is well known with all of his films for as long as his career has been. Not that many movies. A lot of people by this time would have had 60 movies made. He has had about 37 because he is very, I guess, picky and also has trouble getting things made. but he is definitely one of the best directors around to have ever lived. And I hated how much I liked this movie. Just kidding. I liked how much I liked this movie. I wanted to pull at you for a second.
You got me good.
But I kind of knew we were in for a... I don't like using the word masterpiece because I feel like people overuse it.
Yeah.
But I knew we were in for a very good example of good filmmaking, which is way longer to say than masterpiece. With the opening sequence, because it just sets the tone perfectly with that wide shot that just slowly zooms in to the point where like you don't even know who we're supposed to be focusing on, and then Gene Hackman just moves across frame, and that is so incredibly hard because you see his feet; they don't have really any markers, like any visible markers. So like, I don't think people appreciate how difficult that is from that far away to have someone hit their mark when you're not able to have markers on the floor, because especially before computers were used, because now that you could just erase them digitally, you couldn't do that back then. So, and it just completely sets the tone for this film where, you know, we could all be being watched or listened to at any given moment, which is where it sets the paranoia in. And
Like, even a movie that's 50 years old almost, it still makes you feel like that, even though our technology is like super advanced compared to this by now. But like, a movie that's 50 years old and still makes you feel paranoid is fucking wild to me.
oh yeah, the pacing is incredible. The intensity is incredible for this film. It's one that stands the test of times. There's a lot of, like you said, or we're hinting at, there's a lot of movies that's like 50 years old where it's like it's good, but you could feel that things were still being figured out back then. This felt like it had everything figured out.
It also helped that there was, as far as world building went, like it helped that there was like literally at one point there's a whole basically spy convention going on.
Oh yeah.
So this
Which
is
I don't doubt exists.
This is super fucking random, but like it's like, imagine like a John Wick world, but you know, for spies.
Yeah.
It's not that at all, but it is at the same time.
Technically for surveillance, but like the kind of surveillance they're doing is spying.
What do they call it? Buggers in this movie? Like
Yeah, they're bugging phones and everything.
bugging toilets, yada yada. You know, there's like a whole like a group of people that are just dedicated to just like their job and everything.
And like John Wick, they know who Harry Cole is, who Gene Hackman's character is. Like, oh, I've heard all about you. I'm honored to meet you. Stuff like that. Just, you know, you're right. It builds the world very well with just the hint that it is bigger than what it appears to be at first.
And I guess while I'm struggling on how I feel about this movie, like it's so good, but at the same time there's so many, like, to me, minuscule things where I was like, God, I don't know how I felt about that. That was so weirdly drawn out. And then like the end, and like I'm just kind of badgering around right now, but the end felt like I wish it would have ended on a certain point and then it kept going. And it's wild. I don't know.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I can see what you're getting at. What
least
parts?
10 minutes easy. Like that's all. Not anything like crazy, like half an hour or anything like that.
What parts would you say were too drawn out? I want to see if we feel similarly, because
I know I brought it up, but I kind of want to wait for the end. That way we can talk about it later. But
yeah.
It was amping up itself a lot during the whole conversation right in the beginning, and then at points it felt like it was going somewhere, and then they were having like a meeting, and it like the meeting felt forced, like everybody. How do I say this without sounding fucking stupid? No, the meeting after the spy convention was really cool because
What, like
Gene-
the little soiree they had at his place?
Yeah, they all came back to his place. We're making drinks. They're like, hey, what's his name? I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Harry. They're like, hey, Harry, what the fuck is going on? Give me your tools. What are you doing, Harry? Hey, let me know.
It was mainly Bernie doing that, played by Alan Garfield.
but that whole scene was super cool because it showed you how paranoid Gene Hackman's character, as far as
like not
his character was, to talking to anybody, period. And then,
and like no one else in his field is as paranoid as he is.
yeah, and he's obviously the most expertise person he is because he's so paranoid and all this. And like I really like that scene. And then this is the part that bothered me, is that he just opened up to this chick that he was talking to. As much as I love that scene and everything, Harry as a person, I feel like, would be smarter than to just open up like that. But also, as the synopsis says, and this is where I'm kind of redunding myself, he is what's the word? He's got a conscience. So he's like I'm going to tell you my life story. And just spills the beans. This man who's absolutely paranoid to shit just spills the beans to I guess his past life. I don't exactly remember it off the top of my head, but I feel like the most paranoid bugger in the world wouldn't just spill beans like that, and then it becomes like a whole thing where he gets super pissed off because he did get bugged while spilling the beans to this super cute blonde chick.
See, that's why I like it, because it shows that he wants to be normal. He doesn't want to be paranoid. So he tries to open up with a woman that kind of looks like the woman he kind of more or less rejected beforehand because she was asking too much of him. I mean, they're just blonde. They don't look like exactly.
They're
alike.
literally just blonde.
Yeah, but
short
there's
hair.
that familiarity. There's that familiarity, and she's being extremely coming on, like she's coming on to him extremely hard, and I think just through him wanting to be normal and wanting to feel something, had a moment of weakness. Maybe he had I don't remember him drinking specifically, but it was a little soiree. Maybe he had a little bit
they
of
were all
alcohol in him.
making drinks for everybody.
So I don't think his mind was completely there. And then when he finds out that he spilled his beans and he was being recorded the whole time, it just he just shelters himself even more, to the point where when he spends the night with this woman, he doesn't say a word to her the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So I personally love that. While I completely understand where you're coming from, I kind of empathize with him wanting to connect with her and kind of being tired of being lonely in a way.
Yeah, I get his whole breaking down. He's not a fucking robot. He's a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I get that 100%. I just feel like he would be smarter. It's a double-edged sword, Yeah. It's to me. It's like I feel like he would be smart enough, but he was human enough to cave in and release emotion like a normal human being, and tell his story and everything like that. Really weird thing was seeing Harrison Ford absolutely young as shit in this.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how old he was in this, because I remember every Star Wars fan in the world wants you to know that he was a carpenter, and that's how he started acting.
He was 32 when this came out.
He looks like a 20-year-old at least.
Yeah, he's my age in this movie. But I think the whole character of Harry Caul, Gene Hackman's character, is so well made. Like, yes, it has its moments where the audience could feel one way or the other. Yeah, which is completely fine
as it shows you right now.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing, it's a little thing, but it's something that I really, really, really enjoyed, is that they showed him just jamming out on the saxophone to show that like his whole life isn't just surveillance. Like he desperately wants to do other things, but he's just so good at surveillance, and it's made him so paranoid that he can't really do anything else except for like play saxophone. I thought it was a brilliant touch to add just a little bit of character, a little bit of life before during, after,
And
etc.
even right in the beginning, you were like sitting there hoping that he was actually playing in front of like a live audience, and then as it zoomed out, you saw that it was just a recording. You're like, oh no, the sadness is breaking me.
Yeah,
Damn it.
yeah, definitely. But it's a very intense film. A thing that really helped me, or helped the film rather, is the score. I don't know if you noticed the music, but the music by David Shire, who did the score, it just was so. And yes, I agree that you really shouldn't notice music in movies. It should just kind of be like, it should be an underscore, which I believe is where the word score comes from. But it should enhance but not distract. But I always like listen for the music and go out of my way to listen for it. So it's not a bad thing when I say that I really thought the music enhanced this movie a lot. It kind of added a slight noir feel to it. Made the film uneasy even when it was just people walking around. So like technically, it's just I really don't have much negative to say about it because it's just a well-made movie for everything from the music to the editing to the performances and the writing.
Yeah,
and I do like that the characters are complex enough where people can have differing opinions of it too. Because it's more annoying when it just feels like we're being told how to feel about the actor or the character.
Yeah, especially with the characters, like you don't know who to exactly trust because you're seeing it in Harry's eyes, so you don't know exactly who to trust. Everybody's kind of like, lack of a better word, kind of stale in the way they're performing, but obviously they're real humans.
Yeah.
But it's just how Harry sees them is that he's always kind of paranoid about who's doing what, and especially Harrison Ford. He was always walking kind of like a robot towards Gene Hackman and everything like that.
Yeah.
My negatives about this movie aren't like groundbreaking where I'd put it at like a 2 or anything, but like it's just I don't know how to exactly where to score it above that, and it freaks me out. just like Gene Hackman, I don't know where to be right now.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It is a very it's an experience of a movie, and I keep using that word for movies lately, and I hate it because I hate it when
Better
people
than
are like,
masterpiece.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's an experience. It's like, well, you're just telling me that it's a movie that doesn't make sense, and because those are usually the movies that are described as experiences. David Lynch fans, I'm looking at you, but for the record, I have no problem with David Lynch fans, but don't tell me that he's a good storyteller. I think that this is an experience while also telling a good story, because it's going to make you feel one way or the other, and it really depends on the viewer more than it does the film. Which
I think this is literally a perfect example right now.
Yeah.
Between us two, because normally you and I are both on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah. To a fault, honestly, it kind of sometimes makes our little review company here boring.
Yeah.
But and that's really the most you can ask from a movie is for it to not sway you to feeling a certain way, but just presenting the story as is, and then just having you run with it in one way or the other. So I really, like I said, I really enjoyed this. I don't really have too much to say. I feel like I've said everything. So maybe we could talk about the ending like you want to do a bit.
Absolutely. The point where I was feeling like it might have dragged, maybe not 10 minutes, maybe literally even 5 minutes. Like it's not as bad. When he found out at the end, spoilers, when he found out that it wasn't the girl who got killed, that it was actually it was the director, obviously, right?
Yeah, Robert Duvall.
That, and then he was playing saxophone, and then Harrison Ford called, and then he starts like looking for the bug and all that. It starts to kind of drag him looking for the bug, and then he starts playing the saxophone again. I feel like as soon as he got that call, sat down, and maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in it. I felt like that as soon as he found out that it was the director that got killed, I feel like that's when it started dragging. I don't know.
I could see that.
But the one thing that I will say is that he tore apart his whole house, right? And he didn't once look in his saxophone, did he?
That's what I was thinking. But at the same time, I mean, granted, it's a movie.
Yeah.
So putting a microphone in a machine that makes, or a device that makes noise would not be the best thing to do, because when Harrison Ford plays back the recording, you hear the record that he's playing along with. If the microphone was in the saxophone, you probably would not hear that. Again, that's just in reality.
Yeah. He tore everything apart. Literally everything. Everything is destroyed in his apartment.
Yeah, the floor's ripped up.
But the saxophone, to me, as an idiot, I would be like, it's probably in the saxophone. Here we are.
In the world of the movie, it very well could have.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what to think about where it was. Maybe him playing the saxophone showed that maybe he just didn't care anymore.
Maybe, maybe even in like the sole of one of his shoes or something like that.
Sole of one of his shoes.
Something obscure, because they talk about clothing a lot when all the buggers are together. But I mean, it literally could have been anywhere. At one point, he literally does the East Coast guy is what I'll call him, because I don't remember his name.
I think it's Bernie.
Bernie. He does say like, you just got to know what clothes they're wearing that day, and just shit like that. So it very well could have been just something he was wearing that day. And that's kind of where I'm tug of warring myself as far as where I'm at with this movie, because it was good, it was really good, but it was also like, it had me questioning so many things at the same time, and I just want to know where I stand, and it might have to be a second watch, and that's the crazy part about it.
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked how towards the end it kind of became a horror movie.
Yeah.
With when he's like trying to save Anne and the guy. I don't remember if they ever say the guy's name.
I don't think they ever did.
But like when he witnesses the murder and then he goes into the hotel room to investigate, and then he flushes the toilet and just blood comes out of the gooseneck pipe thing into the bowl. It's just visually
that was
so horrifying.
Sorry, that was some shit that I would have just seen out of like Amityville Horror.
Exactly.
Then I was like, I want to see Gene Hackman in Amityville Horror.
Yeah, but it's stuff like that where it's just like it makes you question what is real and what isn't, and then of course it shows you that it was real and everything. But it feels like a dream, and it's just really well made. And I understand why you're kind of like iffy about it. I was going purely off of how it made me feel when I watched it, and it made me feel things.
Oh, that's such a good feeling.
Yeah, it made me feel like it was very intense. It was very different from other Gene Hackman things I had seen.
Superman,
very understated, unlike other Francis Ford Coppola films, because he usually goes way over the top in a good way, but like this is very subdued compared to like The Godfather, and Bram Stoker's Dracula and all that. So I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I think the last thing I really have to say about it is I liked kind of all the sound effects and all the distortions that there were, and all the low or high pass that there was. That there was during the kind of investigating parts, and just when they were spying. I thought that was really cool. They really just kind of added all they could to just random shit, but and it just made it more kind of significant to the film.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's all I've really got.
Yeah, same here. So that does it for our review. That brings us to the judgment of The Conversation, written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. Glenn, you picked this.
I did, and that's
So
what
you go
makes it
first.
so fucking wild. Man, it's not often where I get left kind of not exactly speechless. Like I talked a lot during this. To where I get left on the exact middle ground on how I feel about putting it on the shelf or not. Because it was so good, but at the same time, like it just made you feel some certain ways that were like, do I exactly want to put it on there? I think overall, when I do watch it a second time, I think I will want to put it on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that I'm going to when I do watch it the second time.
Okay.
It was good, especially Gene Hackman's great with his. He was super paranoid, and it was just so good. Sound effects, all that. So I think I would eventually say yes. I'd put it on. I'm thinking ahead of myself.
Yeah, I got you. I absolutely love that this made us feel completely different because that doesn't happen very often.
It does not.
And I know ultimately you'll probably feel the same way, but it's making you think more. Whereas for me, as soon as the credits started rolling, I was like, I'm going to say, yes, that's going on the shelf because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well made. I love like understated movies with paranoia and intense thrillers like this. So this just had everything that I look for in movies. And the fact that it's 48 years old, almost 50 years old.
It's getting there. It's crazy.
And still holds up is just great.
I think that alone, just the fact that I said earlier, almost 50 years old and it still makes you feel paranoid, almost automatically puts it on the shelf.
And I used to say, everyone says like The Godfather Part 2 or The Godfather is Francis Ford Coppola's best movie. I would always just say Apocalypse Now is his best film. Now I'm thinking maybe it's The Conversation.
It's almost a three-way tie.
Well, I mean, The Conversation wins by runtime alone.
Yeah.
It's the only one under 3 hours, and it's under 2 hours. So there is that. The Conversation goes onto the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our assignment for next week. It is Streaming Roulette Week. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Huzzah! For those of you who don't know, anytime we do Streaming Roulette, we spin a very real physical wheel that is about 70 miles wide. We spin it 3 times, and it has all the movies of all the streaming services we subscribe to. And the best one, or the one that we're more interested in out of those 3, is the one we're going to watch. So, without any further ado, here comes the first spin. Oh, yeah, also has to be at least a year old. Oh, can't do this. Road to Perdition. We've already done that.
Damn it!
We've done that. It was a streaming roulette pick,
Well,
and we did it on the podcast.
Let's see how bad it is. It could be terrible.
It could be bad again, or good again. Anyway, spinning again. Whoa, okay. I've seen this. White Christmas. It is a Danny Kaye movie with Bing Crosby. Well, it's not a Danny Kaye movie. White Christmas from 1954. It is a successful song and dance team become romantically involved with a sister act and team up to save the failing Vermont Inn of their former commanding general.
Happens all the time.
Yep, directed by Michael Curtis, written by Norman Krasna, Norman Panama. Oh, 2 Normans. And Melvin Frank. Why couldn't Melvin be named Norman?
Terrible.
It's starring Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney, who is George Clooney's aunt, and Vera Ellen. That is going to be available on Netflix. So that is White Christmas. That is the first pick. Before I move forward, all I will say now is when I was a kid, this is like one of my family's favorite Christmas movies. When I was a kid, I hated it. I will not tell you how I feel now, but I loathed it when I was a kid and might still loathe it. So who knows?
Absolutely terrible.
Spin number 2. Howl's Moving Castle. I feel like you've probably seen that.
Believe it or not, I have not.
Ooh, okay.
A lot of the Ghibli movies, I've been trying to wait for the whole Ghibli Fest that they've got on Regal.
Yeah.
The only one that I have seen is one that I cannot remember off the top of my head. So I'm Spirited
Okay.
Away.
Okay.
But I've been trying to watch all of these in theaters. Will we pick it? We'll find out.
We'll find out. So Howl's Moving Castle is on HBO Max. When an unconfident young woman is cursed with an old body by a spiteful witch, her only chance of breaking the spell lies with a self-indulgent yet insecure young wizard and his companions in his legged walking castle. Directed by Miyazaki. Hey,
Miyazaki.
how do you pronounce the first name? That's the Hayao
Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki, written by Hayao Miyazaki and Diana Wynne Jones. It's based on her novel. It is starring Chieko Baisho. I apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce these. Takuya Kimura, Tatsuya Gashwin, and Akihiro Miwa. That is, again, Howl's Moving Castle on HBO Max. And that brings us to our last and final spin. The Maltese Falcon.
Ooh. Holy shit. Two oldies.
1941. It is available on HBO Max as well. I have seen this, full disclosure. San Francisco private detective Sam Spade takes on a case that involves him with three eccentric criminals, a gorgeous liar, and their quest for a priceless statuette, with the stakes rising after his partner is murdered. One thing I've noticed from doing these cinema bucket list things, I am much better at dry reading than I ever have been before. Like, I didn't stutter on any of these synopsises.
Not a single one.
Not a single one. So thank you, Cinema Bucket List. Go watch Cinema Bucket List, people. Shameless self-plug. It is directed by the great John Huston. That's me saying it, not other people. Written by John Huston and based on the novel by Dashiell Hammett. Starring the great Humphrey Bogart. That's, again, me saying that. Mary Astor, Gladys George, Peter Lorre. Let's see if there's anyone else that other people will know. Peter Lorre's great, by the way. He is the great Peter Lorre.
He's so great.
Yeah, no one else. I know a few of these people, but no one that people would be like, oh, yeah. So that is The Maltese Falcon on HBO Max. So we have White Christmas from 1954, Howl's Moving Castle from 2004, and The Maltese Falcon from 1941. If I'm honest, I've seen White Christmas and The Maltese Falcon, and I know you're waiting to see Howl's Moving Castle in theaters. So I'm going to let you pick. I'm going to go with your pick regardless.
So I with all the Ghibli films, I do want to see them in theaters. Will I be upset if I don't? Absolutely not. But what I am leaning towards is The Maltese Falcon, because I have heard of this movie and I did eventually want to see it.
Okay.
But again, between the two, it's kind of a tie of what I actually do want to see at least this week.
Okay.
Will I be upset if I watch Howl's Moving Castle? No. But I do want to see that in theaters.
Okay. Well, if you are kind of not saying anything, pick a number between 1 and 100.
7.
Okay, it's very far away from...
Do your math. It's okay.
I don't even know what I was going to go with that. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
just
No,
redo it.
we're
It's
gonna,
fine.
we're going to redo it. We're going to redo it. So I'm doing a number between 1 and 9,999. If it is even, we will go with Howl's Moving Castle. If it is odd, we'll go with the Maltese Falcon.
Perfect.
Sound good? Okay.
7.
You don't need to pick one. So the number that came up is 1,419. So it looks like we will be watching the Maltese Falcon. Again, that is on HBO Max. I have seen this before. I liked it, but I remember being like, why is this as acclaimed as it is? Because everyone loses their shit over the Maltese Falcon. I wonder if I will feel the same way when I rewatch it. We will see.
Come closer. I want to talk to you. I'm going to tell you an astounding story. The story of the Maltese Falcon. 600 years, the falcon has carried the mystery of a fabulous wealth under its grotesque wings. I could tell you 1,000 tales of the men and women who have hunted this evil bird. But every story has the same ending. Murder. Listen to these incredible people, all consumed by their passionate greed. to the Maltese Falcon.
So that is going to be on HBO Max. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_Film_Review. Twitter, Keystone_Film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. TikTok, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I'm Glenn KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch one of the greatest actors to have ever lived, Humphrey Bogart, do something with a fake falcon that has a lot of gay undertones.
Ooh.
Yes. That got past the censors.
Here we are.
Here we are. Looking forward to it. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.